Howdy friends! Today we're going to continue talking about scatter plots and using lines of best fit to make predictions. Alright you guys, you are definitely going to want to pause the video at this point and jot down these steps for making a scatter plot. Please make sure that you include all of these steps, including A, B, and C from step number 1 in your notes. Okay, now that your steps have been written down into your notes, please take a look at the following data. This is the data that we will be using to create a scatter plot. We're going to be looking at ice cream sales in dollars versus temperature in degrees Celsius. Remember, our first job is to determine which variable is the dependent variable and which is the independent variable. In this situation, temperature in degrees Celsius will be our independent variable. The ice cream sales in dollars will be our dependent variable because the amount of dollars that they collect in sales will depend on the temperature. Reminder that since temperature is our independent variable, it will be along the x-axis on our scatter plot. We're going to need to decide on a title and numerically label our x-axis. Okay, we'll also label and numerically label our y-axis as our sales in dollars. At this time, if you have not written this data down, please do so in your notebook. For step number 1C, when you're deciding on an interval for each axis, many of you are probably wondering, how do I figure that out? How do I know what my intervals should be for each of the axes? So let's talk about that. You're first going to want to determine your minimum value and your maximum value for each of the axes. Let's first take a look at our temperatures. So our minimum temperature is 11.9 degrees Celsius. And it looks like our maximum temperature is 25.1 degrees Celsius. I can take a look at the range of those temperatures. 25.1 minus 11.9 is going to give me 13.2, a range of 13.2 degrees. Okay, I have 16 vertical lines going across my graph, and I have a range of 13.2. I think I'm going to go across by an interval of 2. In other words, I'll go 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, labeling each vertical line in that manner. Now let's take a look at our minimum sales and our maximum sales. Our minimum sales was $185. Our maximum sales was $614. When I look at the range there, 614 minus 185 gives me 429. Okay, clearly going up by 2s is not going to work for that. If I take a look at my graph paper for my scatter plot, I think if I go up by 100s, I will be able to hit my minimum and my maximum and probably still have a little room left over. Alright, please make sure that your your scatter plot has been labeled. You'll notice that I have the x-axis labeled by what it represents, as well as I have an interval. As I mentioned, I was going to be going across by 2s, and when I do that, I went from 0 to 32. That'll hit both my minimum and my maximum values. Okay, for my sales in dollars, I've got that labeled along the y-axis. I know I needed to go from 185 to 614, and all of that has been included in my intervals of 100 along that y-axis. Also very important that I made sure that I included a title for my scatter plot. If your scatter plot has not been labeled in this way, please pause your video and make sure you do so now. Our next step is going to be to plot the ordered pairs onto our scatter plot. Okay, if I go back and look at that chart that I asked you to copy into your notes, I can see my first ordered pair is going to be 14.2 degrees, $215. So I'll be going across to 14.2 and up to 215 and plot a point. Okay, please pause your video at this time and go ahead and plot all of the points from the table that you copied into your notes. Remember, your points do not get connected. You just plot each point separately. All right, we're back, and hopefully you have all of your points plotted. I plotted all of mine, and here's how my graph looks. Okay, our next step is going to be to draw the line of best fit if appropriate for the data. Okay, remember that when we talked about drawing a line of best fit, our first step was to put a circle around our points. Remember, if we're going to draw a line of best fit, if it's appropriate for the data, it should be within that circle. You want to look, do the points within that circle form some kind of a linear pattern? In this case, they do, so it would be appropriate for us to draw a line of best fit. One last reminder about your line of best fit. You should be drawing that with a straight edge. So let's take a look at my line of best fit. Remember that we said our data points should have an approximately equal amount of data points above our line of best fit as well as below. Some of the points might fall directly on the line, but they do not have to. All right, as a quick reminder from yesterday, we should be able to calculate the slope and the y-intercept of our fitted line. And in doing so, I'm going to identify 2 points that are on my line of best fit. And I always want to use points that are going to be points that'll be easy to work with. So I'm going to look at points that cross right on a lattice point here. Here's an example. Okay, this, as I'm going to call point 1, is 8, 200. Okay, and let's look for another point that's going to be an easy point to work with. I'm going to try to pick a point that is not super close to my first point, because the farther my points are away from each other, the more accurate my slope will be. Right here looks like a good point for us. So my point 2 is going to be 18, 400. Okay, remember we can calculate our slope by finding the change in the y values over the change in the x values. So y2 minus y1 is 400 minus 200 over x2 minus x1, that's 18 minus 8. When I go ahead and subtract there, I'm going to get 200 over 10, and 200 divided by 10 equals 20. That means my slope is 20 or 20 over 1. Either way is fine. I should also be able to identify B on my graph. Okay, my B point is the y-intercept. Remember, that's where the line crosses the y-axis. I'm going to put a cute little purple star right there. That's where my B point is. And if I estimate that, I covered it up before I could I did take a quick look at it. It is below halfway. I'm going to say that my B is at approximately 25 on the y-axis. Now, if we know the slope, M, which we said was 20 or 20 over 1, and we know B, which I said was 25 on the y-axis, then I should be able to write the equation of our fitted line. Okay, remember, if we know M and we know B, we can always write those into our slope-intercept formula. I know you guys remember that. The famous y equals mx plus b. And now we can just simply substitute in our m and our b and write our equation as y equals 20x plus 25. Okay, last time we talked, we said that if we had a fitted line on our scatter plot, we could use it to help us make predictions. So, let's just refresh our memory there, and let's predict the sales in dollars of ice cream if the temperature is 32 degrees. So, here's our 32 degree mark way in the corner of my graph here. Remember, I can draw a straight line up to my fitted line. Once I hit my fitted line, I stop and then move directly left to find out what the sales prediction is. Okay, so I'm going to predict that the sales in dollars would be approximately $700 if the temperature were at 32 degrees Celsius. However, let's say we wanted to make a prediction of what the sales in dollars of ice cream would be if the temperature was at 40 degrees Celsius. Now, this one is a little tougher, right? Because 40 degrees Celsius is not in our graph. Okay? However, we should be able to use that equation we wrote with our slope and our y-intercept to be able to mathematically calculate that prediction. So let's take a look at how that would look. Okay, so if we're trying to make a prediction about the sales in dollars if the temperature is at 40 degrees Celsius, we should be able to take 40, which is the temperature, and remember that's along the x-axis. We can substitute 40 in for x into our equation. So y equals 20 times 40 plus 25. Okay, 20 times 40 gives me 800. 800 plus 25 equals 825. So our prediction is that if the temperature reaches 40 degrees Celsius, then they should earn $825 in sales. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good luck and have a great day.